Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, please binding Finalizing AFTERBIRTH. Plus, we've been having good games. Oh, I saw my streak flash before my eyes temporarily. TX7X ADNR. I shouldn't act like I'm out of the woods with Apollyon. Apollyon's a fun character, though. Not nearly as dangerous. Is this an XL? No, just 2 big rooms. Not nearly as dangerous as the Keeper, there's no doubt about that, but not necessarily an assured victory. But I love any character with a run-defining spacebar item. By the way, I keep touching my nose. The cat recently was on my desk, and I can feel the fur floating around my face, and it's making me go... You gotta give me a second, you know. I remember. I can feel it coming in cat hair tonight. Oh Lord. Look. Probably should have worked on my phrasing there. I've been waiting for the sinus to clear all night. Oh Lord. Maybe preaching to the converted. Here's the thing. You want to leave, Ruka? You may leave if you've decided this room no longer fulfills the desire of what you want to accomplish this afternoon. I know you can't mention Phil Collins without getting into some, like, American Psycho sort of stuff. In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. Good song, decent song. Phil Collins' best song? There's a girl that's been on my mind all the time. Studio. I know In the Air Tonight, it's got a real sparse production. It's kind of an anomaly among pop songs, especially, you know, from a bygone era. But the fact that it's enduring is a testament to, you know, the power of its legacy, and also the fact that there's that copy pasta about Phil Collins saw the dude who did the drowning at one of his... You get the idea. Straight up, I'm going to dice shard this and then turn that into damage. That worked very well. Which never actually happened. But anyway. He remembers. I am suffering from cat hair. No, it doesn't really work at all. I also get this weird thing where, and I've mentioned this before, and I've been hit with crickets. So I don't know if it's, I at this point, you know, 7 million people on planet Earth, I don't assume that anything is like uniquely me. If I'm the only person in the world that has something happen to them. But after I shave, it's almost like my facial hair serves as like a face net. And like, I don't mind the cat hair as much, which probably means that it's just getting caught in, you know, stubble and beard. And it's not making it into my nose. But after I shave, there's a little bit less resistance, I suppose, and the cat hair just goes straight up into the, you know, the old nostrils. I can live with this. And as a result, I always end up getting a little bit more, you know, snotty, a little bit more mucosal, right after shaving. It's strange. I recognize the strangeness. It's not common, at least. But, I don't know. Shaving's weird. I also get, like, my lips get more chapped right after shaving. I don't have a good explanation for it. So, by the way, I have a plan here. And it looks something like this. I really want the Tinted Rock. Hello, darkness, my old doody. I really thought that guy had one more hit of life left in him, so that I could blow him up and get the Tinted Rock. Could have handled it better, no question about that. There's another Tinted Rock back here. So far, so good, though. I mean, anytime you're able to... And there's another Tinted Rock right there. Anytime you're able to get your damage up early, and I will take it. Yeah, why not? Anytime you're able to get your damage up early as Apollyon, you should be happy. You know, that's a higher roll on Void. There's plenty of low rolls, and everybody's familiar with them. You know, shot speed, range, those are pretty meaningless. I really think that if you were to remake Isaac you would do something different with range. And I know that seems like not every stat has to have like a meaningful impact. You know what? I got a couple of opinions. Then I'm not trying to galaxy brain anything here. Shot speed, it just strikes me as one of those things that's kind of like, is filler. It's irrelevant, you know? Does shot speed have a meaningful impact ever? You know, this is where somebody that's a little bit, I don't want to say dishonest, but somebody that is bending over backwards to, you know, show that they can imagine a situation in which it's useful or disuseful, or useless, I guess is the word you would use there, would be like, well, yeah, sure, if you picked up 10 shot speed downgrades, blah, blah, blah. I'll just call it like I see it. No. I mean, literally, if you Curse of the Blind and picked up every shot speed downgrade in the game, maybe. But for the most part, like, I don't think there's a rational, likely use case in which shot speed ends up being that meaningful of an addition or a subtraction. So I'm not saying it's a wasted opportunity. It's just, it's a stat that is kind of meaningless in the game. It exists, from my estimation, pretty much exclusively to make something like Void more likely to give you something that doesn't pay out. Which is fine for balance, but I don't think that's what they originally intended. And we are just, I mean, the fact that I got hit so many times and yet do not care is just emblematic of the fact that we have such a good setup here when it comes to our HP. Without money, though, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to step on this, and I thought maybe we'd get a chest. We did not. We're not going to be able to suck anything up. That's okay. 8 rate of fire, 4.5 damage, and a guaranteed deal with the devil. That's a sunny and rosy outlook for the future. I just wanted to see, you know what? Sure, it's actually like a really nice setup for us. If we get Pageant Boy, we'll probably end up buying Humbling Bundle, but I mean, those are low odds. We're probably actually more likely to have Brimstone or Mom's Knife than we are to have Pageant Boy leaving this room, so we should be really happy with where we're at, to be honest with you. I'm feeling good. I'm dare I say it, you know, invoke the specter of streaks past, but I'm feeling calm, cool, collected today. We haven't made great decisions on the 2 Isaac runs I recorded previously today. We haven't made uniformly great decisions, I guess I should say. But I think they've prepared me, you know, for a future of Isaac. Don't like taking the range upgrade, but, you know, it's got to be done, it's got to be done. And none of this is to, I mean, there's 2 things I should mention. The first thing is, I know nothing about game design, and I mention that because I think it's important to, you know, just because I play video games, and I've played this one a lot, that doesn't mean I know what's best for it. The other thing is, I'm not actually saying it's like an active criticism about the game. I just think that shot speed as a stat doesn't really add or remove much by being in the game. So when you pick up something and you're like, well, it's a question mark, it could be anything, and then it's like, you know, your tier height goes up. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, just not that meaningful in the overall scheme of the run. It's the scheme of the run once again. Ooh, almost got sucked into that one. Hey, mister. I will mention, you know, tomorrow's my day off, as mentioned in the previous episode. It's a Friday. Friday, February 1st. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. I can't do that. It's Dr. Disrespect's bit. I don't mean to take it. February's cool. I'm, you know, not as I get older, but I think just as time passes, different months have different feels. I hate January, dude. January blows. I mean, did I have a good January? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff happening in January, you know? Went skiing, Kate's birthday, played a bunch of Four Souls, spent time with some friends. You know, my parents were still here at the start of January, finished off the World Junior Hockey Tournament. Congratulations, Finland, Toril, and all that. There was some good stuff that happened, but simultaneously, like on a... not even on like a professional level is not necessarily what I even mean here, but just January is like, you know, you're coming off the high of having the holidays. It's the start of a new year full of responsibilities. Like literally like the first, I haven't talked to my accountant since like July. First week of January, he's like, hey, let's start talking about tax. And I'm like, yep, it's January. Media's a little bit worse. Yo, Jacob's Ladder. So good. And you know, all that stuff is still ongoing. Might as well take it. But we're in February. You know what February means? We're 1 month closer to April, which is when the weather starts to get real nice, at least in Vancouver. I understand we got a weird polar vortex going on in the rest of the country. The rest of the continent, I should say. I feel for you. I have no smug superiority over the fact that, you know, I can leave my house and go buy a cup of coffee, and then when I come back, you know, Kate's like, how's the weather? And I'm like, it's a little rainy. Every place else in the world is like, we're at that level where, you know, when you say, what's the temperature? We say minus 40, and then you say Fahrenheit or Celsius, and we say yes, both actually. Thank you for asking, you know? So we're lucky in that sense. And the real estate bubble's popped a little bit, so it's not even like, you know, that expensive. I mean, the cost of living is still outrageous here, but, you know, it's coming down a little bit from at least a housing standpoint. But, you know, it's a decent time. I don't know what. Basically, I was just trying to make you jealous by the end of that. But no, you see, here's the thing. I don't like being smug about the weather because, you know, it can change on a dime. Not that it ever is going to be minus 40 in Vancouver, just due to like the, you know, thermodynamics of planet Earth. But the other thing is, I want you to know that I'm a good person, and you know, when I complain about the weather, and you say, well, -1, wow, you know what we call that in Minnesota? Gym shorts weather. When it's the polar vortex, and I'm loving life, and the rest of Canada, when you look on the weather map, is a no, I don't even think it's worth sucking up, honestly. When the rest of Canada on a weather map is a snowman giving the middle finger, and Vancouver's a sun with the sunglasses on giving the thumbs up, I don't take any special pride in that. Just the smug satisfaction that I'm not rubbing it in. We got a good thing going on this run. You can hate the rest, or you can hate Vancouver if you want. I saw Quill. I respect Quill a great deal, and in the end he was posting a meme, not trying to be insulting. But, you know, it was like, you know, how Canadians feel about the rest, or why Canadians hate British Columbia, and the rest of the country was like, you know, frozen, and British Columbia was like, times are good right now. That's fine, but I hear the way you talk about BC. Here's the, you know, I hear you in the YVR, in the Vancouver airport, always talking about, you know, in BC, you know, oh, can I get a soy maca smacka latte? The rest of the country, we just need to drink coffee. Is that so hard, Vancouver? I'll take a kombucha, please. I hear you, okay? So the fact that you're frozen right now, this is not meant in direct response to Quill. It was just an inspiration, in case that's not clear. The rest of the country, I hear you loud and clear. And as a result, you know, have you ever considered that maybe the polar vortex is, I mean, in addition to probably being emblematic of the catastrophic impacts that, you know, we're having on climate, you know, not to get political, mostly just to get empirical, but let me hear the data talk. You know, do you ever think that maybe it's just like a cosmic comeuppance for making fun of my city for having a bunch of hipsters in it? It's always the people who own like 4 houses in Vancouver too. See them walk into, you know, Starbucks, they got 9 house keys on their key ring, and they go, wow, $3.50 for a latte? Never thought I'd see the day. By the way, I have $1,000 in my bank account and a 10-figure net worth. Boy, it's sad when a coffee starts costing $3 or $4. I mean, I never thought I would encounter the day when that happened. By the way, you want to buy a house? I'll just give you one off the top. It's $1.3 million. But these coffees, boy, it's expensive to live here. Anyway, where am I going with this? I don't know. It's the first of the month. Wake up, wake up. That is Bone Thugs and Harmony. Yo, there's some good stuff going on here. Grab it, Dad. Okay, maybe rephrase that one. And moving onwards. Very good run. Anytime you body the flooded caves like that, you got to be stoked. Depths 1, right on schedule. Great damage, good ability to get some defense out of this one. I don't mean to be rude to the older generation. Younger generation's got its own problems, though. You know, I talked about it a little bit when my parents were here. They try to, they're very proud of me, and I have been, and this is, again, it's not to toot my own horn. My job is weird and sort of non-adult, but I am successful, you know, independently. And I got into this job before anybody knew what it even, like, was, basically. There were, like, 8 people on YouTube doing this, and I was like, maybe I could be one of them. And, you know, we got, like, halfway there, which is pretty cool. You know, so they lump me in, you know, and I love my parents dearly, sincerely. But they say things to me like, you know, you're not like other millennials. It's like when a girl's just one of the guys, you know, you're not like other girls. You know, we can say the F word around you and you don't get offended at all. You know, you like sports and stuff. You're cool. You drink beer. I'm like that for millennials when it comes to my parents, you know. They're like, you're not like other millennials, you know. You don't care about participation medals. And I'm like, Ma, you know how many participation medals I got? You know, we got trophies in my baseball league for coming in 6th out of 6 teams. You know what they said? C division runner-up. You can crunch the numbers on that for yourself. Creates these weird situations, you know, where you know, if you come in 2nd place, your trophy says runner-up. If you come in 5th place, your trophy says winner. Doesn't make any sense. You know, I am also a millennial, you know. I got the very similar anxieties to a lot of other millennials. I do make fun of my generation a little bit, and that's because I'm part of my generation. I also love my generation. So when I say things like, hey, millennials, there's a difference between self-care and taking a day off from work to catch up on a new Netflix original. I don't say that from a position of trying to admonish other millennials. I say it from a position of, like, I've been there. Prime top right, by the way. Ah! It's weird, though, to be, like, so I still do, but when I used to go on the Vancouver subreddit all the time, and, you know, there's problems with the Vancouver subreddit. It's very toxic. I don't know if other city subreddits are like this. But the thing is, and I will defend Vancouverites' right to be toxic. And I'll explain why in a second. But when I used to, and this goes for any denizen of a city, by the way, but when I used to go on, what the heck, the Vancouver subreddit, it was always toxic housing prices related stuff. And for good reason, you know? When you've lived in a city, as some of these people have for like 25 years, and you've watched the price of real estate go up 10 or 15% a year for a decade, you know, making it so that you have to, you know, literally, like, houses that are teardowns are going to cost you $1.x million, you know, I think that breeds a lot of resentment. But now that the real estate bubble's popping a little bit, I'm getting, like, actual local news instead of just, like, endless belly aching about the price of houses, which, again, I can't stress enough, is extremely fair. Not the houses prices, but the fact that people were complaining. And now I'm like, man, I got a much greater sense of community now than I did 2 years ago for Vancouver. You know, now that not every post on the subreddit is, hey, my landlord's trying to rent evict me. I feel a much greater sense of closeness with my fellow Vancouverites. But getting back to what I was going to say earlier, there's a restaurant in Donbo, or this restaurant in Vancouver called Donbo. It's a ramen chain, and we were at it last night. Kate and I like to go there. It's been around for a while, but it's really popping off. Like, it must have made some listicles, top places to eat ramen in Vancouver, great urban spoon ratings or something like that. Sometimes people don't understand, and I'm tying this all together. You just got to give me a moment to build a moment. Give me a minute to build a moment here. Sometimes people don't understand. I think, you know, they go to cities like New York and they see, like, everybody's so gruff, you know. They go to cities like Vancouver. They're like, everybody's kind of standoffish. Here's what happens. And I'm a tourist, but when you're in a city that has a lot of tourism, you get a certain sense of standoffishness towards strangers. And I'll tell you why. You just and it's very selfish. It's very self-serving. I would never defend this as the right place to be. The right headspace. I would also never suggest that, hey, like before you go someplace, you know, take a master's level course on their culture so that you can understand everything about it. You know, I think traveling is important. But you know, we go to this ramen restaurant. They sell ramen noodles. I would say, and now, by the way, you have to line up most of the time. We used to just be able to walk in. Now, usually, it's like a 5 to 30 minute wait to get ramen. Is the ramen worth it? Yes. I will wait for good food. And I really think that Danbo is some of the best ramen in the city. I would heartily recommend it. But the number of times now that, this is why I say it's got to have made some like TripAdvisor list or something like that, where people sit down at the restaurant and then the server comes over and goes like, hey, what do you want? And they go, what's good here? Is a menu. It's got like 6 items. I don't necessarily know that they're tourists. All I'm saying is I've watched the demographics change live in real time. We don't want anything there for sure. And you know, it just, there's little micro-tourisms that add up to a certain sense of like, I don't know what, and I used to be like this, you know? I would go to like Toronto and I'd be like, why doesn't everybody have a smile on their face at all times? They live in the largest city in Canada, you know? Look at the access to all this amazing stuff they have. Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's just life, right? Like, you're just living your life, you know? It's not, just because you're here on a trip, it doesn't mean like we're all background singers in a musical about your vacation, you know? Hey, welcome to the Sky Train. It's, you know, it's not like that. It's like these people they're going about their day and, you know, being really, 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 really minorly inconvenienced a couple of times a week, just to the point where it adds up. That's why, I think that's why in any, I don't know if I've ever been to a city in my entire life where I've been like, people here are really friendly. I grew up in a town where, and I think I've said this many times before, but if you don't say hi to someone you pass on the street, people think there's something wrong with you, you know? Strangers, you just walk by them and you go, hello, you know? I did it. I don't know why. It was just culturally part of the town where I grew up. I guess it's, you know, I see you. I'm going to acknowledge that I see you. You acknowledge that you see me. It's politeness, sure, but I mean, it's also like, I don't know. I kind of see it the same now that I live in a city where you never talk to anybody. I don't see it as sad that people in Vancouver don't talk to one another, you know, don't talk to strangers idly. I see it as the same as like the dress code thing, where, you know, in my head I was like, why does it matter, you know, if I can afford the meal, that I'm wearing a baseball cap in your restaurant? It just, it doesn't seem like, you know, culturally this is where we're at in 2019, 1950s, 1960s. Sure, I understand, but now, you know, that tide has turned and you lost. The hats are everywhere, okay? But I just, like, you know, yeah, I said hi to people, but it wasn't like I was actually any nicer to them. I just said hello. And in Vancouver, it's not like I'm actively trying to avoid people's gaze. It's just, you know, yeah, I see you. You see me. We don't have to say hello. You know, we both got eyeballs. It's all good. What does it matter? I don't know. It's just different. There's different philosophies, I guess. That's why the only city where where people are rude and I hold it against them is Boston. And I am not trying to dredge this up yet again. If you're from Boston, I'm sure there's wonderful, I mean, people choose to live their whole lives there, right? So there's obviously I'm missing something. But yes, my interaction with the few surly service staff members at, you know, alcoholic institutions in Boston has tailored my interpretation of the manners of the rest of the populace of the city at large. It's probably not 100% apt, but it happened enough that I'm like, I don't want to go back. Maybe it's not fair, but you know, in other parts of the world, like when we were in Reykjavik, I was like, people here are not friendly, and I like it. I was pleased. They were not unfriendly. They just were not overly polite for no reason. And anytime that we, you know, because we're not Icelandic, struggled with something, they acted like we were stupid and an inconvenience on them, which is good, because we were. That's just honesty. Whereas in the difference between that and my experience in Boston was that in Boston, it really felt like a lot of the times I would walk into an establishment and be like, hey, do you guys have a table for 7? And they'd be like, yeah, look at it, we're freaking Chuck E. Cheese. Look at this, all this space we got around us. Of course we got a table for 7. Hey, why not just 700? Why don't we just get a table for 700? Okay, and I was like, all right, I get it. F me, I guess. Whereas in Reykjavik, you know, I'd be like, hey, can I get a bagel? And they'd be like, do you want that with smoked salmon or cream cheese? And I'd be like, and they would, like, you know, kind of give like a sigh and roll their eyes a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? You earned that. It shouldn't be that hard of a decision. I'm being an imposition on your time. I think that's fine. When your politeness ends at somebody, and I know that they get paid to, I mean, that's wrong. That's a very North American attitude. They don't get paid to be nice. They get paid to, you know, fulfill your order. If they're actively impolite, that's one thing. But if you're being like, I don't know, not behaving up to the standards of what you would expect from an adult. If your politeness ends at that point, no harm, no foul as far as I'm concerned. And maybe Boston, you know, it's an old city. Maybe it's got the right thing, like, going on is what I mean to suggest. Oh, I mean, we'll suck it up if we have the charge. Maybe, you know, back in like the 1800s, they were like, bro, we got all these tourists that are coming around. They want to see Boston, you know? And they went, let's just be slightly rude to everybody and offend their more Midwestern sensibilities. And then maybe people will stop coming. Maybe you got it figured out, and that's something we could learn over here on the West Coast. Maybe I'm being unfair to Bostonians. And what I perceived as surliness was just the way that they speak to people. And perhaps they, you know, expect people to have their own backbone and be able to handle the slightest amount of opposition without crying about it in YouTube videos and Twitch streams for the next 6 or 7 years. Maybe I was already a little bit predisposed to be, you know, annoyed at PAX East because they keep having the show in friggin' March in Boston, where it's routinely polar vortex season. I understand this isn't the way the system necessarily, it's not this easy necessarily, but simultaneously, you know, PAX West takes place in Seattle in August. How's the weather? It's gorgeous. Rains a little bit. But, you know, for the most part, by PNW standards, it's lovely. It's one of the best times of the year. PAX East takes place in Boston in March or April. How's the weather? Could be surprisingly warm, or alternatively a cataclysmic blizzard. One of the two. Take your pick. I've been there through both. Really feels like, you know, if they did PAX East in Boston in August, it would be hot. Maybe not the perfect weather, but, you know, could be worse. If they did PAX West in Seattle in March, it would rain a little bit, but be pretty temperate. Not the best weather, but preferable to having the roles flipped. Anyway, I don't want to talk about conventions. Who cares? You've been to one, you've been to them all. Except for TwitchCon. Because, you know, I might be there signing things this year. Who knows? But only if it's 170 decibels and I get a table next to Tony Hawk or Chuck the Iceman Liddell. Alright, this was a very solid run that is headed towards goodness. Normally, I mean, Holy Mantle, of course, not Holy Mantle, the Relic, of course, is a good item. Great item. We just don't need it at the end of the day here. I went with piercing shots. I went with booger tears. I went with the shots that remind us of the best times. I went with the shots that remind us of the best times. Sorry, I said the same lyric twice because I messed it up. This is a good Apollyon run, and I told you I'm feeling calm, cool, collected. We encountered just the slightest bit of strife related to our own HP at points on this run, but to be honest with you, we're kind of kicking it right now. Very few things to complain about. You never know when you might get an errant random that sends you for a loop. This is a fun one. I had a good time. And I apologize to the city of Boston. Hey, who do you think we are to need your apology, you freaking jabroni? Get out of here. Okay, fine. I don't know. It's all these old rules. Like, I'll tell you, this is it. People think, oh, NL, you're so boring. You don't have stories anymore. I have stories. I just don't tell them. You know? So we were at PAX East 2 years ago. And, you know, imbibing some adult beverages in an Italian restaurant at like 10 p.m., as you're wont to do. And, they were closing. So we asked the server, you know, hey, is there any place, it's only like 10 o'clock. Is there any place that's open and still serving alcohol at this point? And he said, yeah, go down the street to this bar. Tell him I sent you. So we go down the street to the bar, and it's closed. The doors are locked, and the lights are off. But there's like 20 people inside. So we knock on the door. Knock, 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 knock. And then the bouncer comes to the door and goes, sorry, guys, we're closed. And we went, Gino sent us? And he goes, Gino sent you, huh? And then we went, yeah. And he says, okay, you can come in, but only for one drink. Well, it's just these weird rules that I guess in the other parts of the continent, there's an open sign and a closed sign, and that functions as signaling the people that they're allowed to come in. At this special bar that was exactly the same as every other bar I've ever been to in my entire life, you'd had to know the password, which is that Gino sent you. It's just weird, man. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. And we did leave after one. I'm not gonna like put the system on trial. It's their establishment. But when we left, there were still people there ordering stuff too. I don't understand. It's some kind of secret club we're not cool enough to be in. Or maybe we're too cool to be in. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!